You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
The following podcast is scheduled for one fall. Coming in at 195 pounds from Studio A, he is the reigning, defending, undisputed host of the Ring of Thunder, Sexy Thor!
Woo! Guys, that week is finally over. Oh my god. Woo! A whole lot of shit, and we're going to get down to it right now because I've been working on this all day. I feel like I've been working on this all week, and I just want to get down to it. Like, for starters, some AEW stuff. The Inner Circle basically turned face, and pretty much one of the most immortal is the best I can describe it. Chris Jericho babyface promos ever. I mean, usually the heel promos are the ones that are like scathing and awesome and all of that, but yeah, this was probably the greatest babyface promo ever. And it turns out Mike Tyson is face as well, because later on in Dynamite, the Pinnacle jumped Chris Jericho, and then Mike Tyson came out and saved him, and they hugged, and the Inner Circle came out, and they all embraced and all that. And it's all leading to the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle. Blood and Guts, May 5th. Cannot wait. This is indeed the lighter timeline of 2020. But now the Young Bucks have turned heel because they teamed up with Jon Moxley against Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. And, you know, they're going at Kenny pretty good because, you know, they were mad at Kenny. They were going to get him, But whenever it came time to do something major to him, like a super kick or a BTE trigger or whatever, they just couldn't do it. They just couldn't bring themselves. They didn't have the heart. And then finally, Jon Moxley was just like, okay, whatever, get out of my way. I'll take care of him. So he hit him with 2 paradigm shifts, and the Bucks were sort of standing there like, hey, John, yeah, don't be too rough. And then Mox got him in the little rear naked choke thing, whatever, and then let him go, and then was about to hit another paradigm shift, and then the flipping Bucks just super kicked Mox. They completely turned on him. They did another heel turn. They love heel turns just about as much as I do. But not against Mox, man. Means once Eddie Kingston's come back, they're gonna whoop your ass. But hey, just can't let go of Bullet Club stuff, can you? But anyways, I say and talk about AEW real quick to bring up that the Broken Skull Sessions episode where Steve Austin talks to Chris Jericho happened, and holy shit, AEW was actually mentioned quite a bit in there. Like, I never thought I would ever see on a WWE show or WWE Network show, whatever, like Broken Skull Sessions, there'd be multiple mentions of AEW, Tony Khan, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Hangman Page, Sammy Guevara, MJF, Orange Cassidy. Like, holy shit. And then, I mean, of course, he really opened that forbidden door too, because he mentioned flipping New Japan and Ring of Honor as well. I was just like, oh my god. Like, is Vince actually okay with this? Whew. That was a great episode, though. I think it was the longest Broken Skull Sessions episode, though, because it was like 2 hours and 7 minutes, I want to say. I mean, it was basically a feature-length movie. But it was really good, though. They did, of course, go through like the career of Chris Jericho himself, you know, going WCW, and then his first run with WWE, and then 2-year break, and then his second run with WWE, which sort of started out with him moving on from the Y2J thing and ending with his friendship with Kevin Owens and the List of Jericho in 2017 and all that. But yeah, great episode. And towards the end of it, they showed a picture of Jericho with the AEW World Championship, and I was just like, oh my god, my mind's blown all over again. But hey, hopefully opens the door for a whole lot of other stuff. What stuff that would be, I don't even know. 2021 showed me so much weird shit, like we'll probably get to later in the podcast so far. But see, it's like 2020 was just weird and different for almost all the wrong reasons. And 2021 just keeps giving me all these weird yet pleasant surprises. And I'm just like, keep them coming. I will eat it all up. Then it was announced after WrestleMania. We're jumping ahead because we're just going to go with, basic little news bits before we recap all these major shows. That Adnan Virk, formerly of the MLB Network, or maybe he's still there, I don't know, I doubt it. But he, at one point at least, may not still be working at the MLB Network. But he will be replacing Tom Phillips on the Monday Night Raw commentary, while Phillips does commentary for 205 Live and backstage work. And Samoa Joe was removed from Raw commentary team, but is apparently still part of the quote-unquote WWE talent roster team or whatever. So maybe Samoa Joe in-ring returns, sir, soon? That would be pretty nifty. Haven't seen Joe since we had people in the crowds. Corey Graves will replace Joe, so if they didn't replace Tom Phillips, then we could have had the reunion of Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, and Corey Graves, aka the SmackDown Live commentary team from back when I first began this journey, which means they were the commentary team present at my first live wrestling show. So that team may not be significant at all for most wrestling fans, especially the ones that can't let go of JR and the King, or Heenan, Shivani, and Bischoff, but to each their own. For the record, I think Mauro Ranallo is awesome, Beth Phoenix is good and getting better, and Vic Joseph is low-key winning at life better than most of us. And some TV stuff, no go-home segment on Raw for The Fiend and Randy Orton, just basically a recap. But, I mean, they've been telling this story and all these little bits for the last 3+ months. I mean, sure. And then sometimes wishes do come true, as after Miz and Morrison vandalized Bad Bunny's $3 million Bugatti and jumped Mr. Bunny when he went to check on his car, Damian Priest went ahead and made it a tag team match for WrestleMania. Of course, if social media is to be believed, and Lord knows I've been suckered in before, then it, at the time, seemed like there might have been another wish coming true upon which I would have absolutely lost my shit. Of course, I'm talking about the Becky Lynch rumors that were drawn upon her Facebook posts of a picture of her back while she's working out, and these random words that turn into a nonsensical sentence that the first letter of each word spelled night one, so it looked like Becky's back night one. And of course that was absolutely not the case, and we were all just horribly and viciously trolled. And also during WrestleMania we got our first look at WWE 2K20. It was pretty much just the little game model for Rey Mysterio and him hitting a 619 on Cesaro in the video game on the Raw set. And that's all we got about. And I'm pretty amped. It looks pretty awesome, but I am kind of gun shy after 2K20. So hopefully this one is just not broken. Like, I'm sure the game itself will be good, but as long as there isn't the same broken shit that there was in 2K20, then we're all good. 2K20 does have my favorite video game cover of all time, however. But, yeah, I guess we'll see. I'm kind of surprised they announced it this early. Like, it seemed like they usually wait, at least they did for 2K20, maybe 18 and 19 as well, like August. or like sometime in the summer to announce it. I mean, maybe in years past they've announced it at WrestleManias, but that was before my time. So I don't know. Maybe this is normal. Maybe this is way early. If it is way early, then neat. Can't wait to check out more stuff during the summer and see what it's all about. And now we are on to NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver Night 1. On the pre-show, major upset as Zoe Stark defeated Toni Storm. Then beginning that, and when we run through it, I'll try to remember all the predictions I made, but I'm kind of cooked at this point. So, plus also there were some times last episode where I was like rambling. I was just like, well, I think this will happen, but I really want them to win, and blah, blah. So yeah, I mean, I might legitimately be confused and not understand who I picked at some points. Like Pete Dunne defeated Kushida, which when I made my predictions, totally forgot that was a thing, so that doesn't count at all. And then Bronson Reed won the Gauntlet Eliminator to face Johnny Gargano in Night 2, and it was not Dexter Lumis, so I was wrong about that. Walter defeated Tommaso Ciampa to retain the NXT UK Championship, so that I was right about. And MSK defeated grizzled young veterans and Legado del Fantasma to win the NXT Tag Team Championship, so I was right. And then Raquel Gonzalez defeated Io Shirai to become new NXT Women's Champion, and I was right about that. So far so good. Then on the pre-show, Killian Dane and Drake Maverick defeated Breezango on the pre-show for a future NXT Tag Team Championship opportunity. Santos Escobar defeated Jordan Devlin to become the undisputed NXT Cruiserweight Champion in a hell of a ladder match, and of course we all knew all of Legado would be getting involved here. But I was still right about that. Like I think most, if not all of us, were right, but I was right on this show, so I'll pat myself on the back for that. Then Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon defeated Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell to retain the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship. And I think the way I went was predicting Shotzi and Ember would retain, but then I just started going on a plea case to just, put some fucking gold on Candice because she deserves it. But hey, shit, congrats to Indy Hartwell, though, because this is her takeover. And she did really well, and it was for a championship, so she's got a bright future, that one. Especially because it seems like Dexter Lumis is starting to notice her as well, which she's just like, oh! And then Johnny Gargano defeated Bronson Reed to retain the NXT North American Championship. So I was kind of doubly wrong, but we'll only count one wrong, because I thought Dexter Lumis would win the Gauntlet Eliminator and then beat Johnny for the North American Championship. But not only did Dexter not face Johnny, but Johnny won that match. But we're not going to count that as two wrongs here. And Karrion Kross defeated Finn Balor to become the new NXT champion. I'm pretty sure that's what I predicted, even though it's just like, I think Kross might be fast-tracked to the main roster, and that's why you might not win. But I think I went with Finn losing it. Yeah. I'm just impressed, because I think that's the quickest I've seen anybody have to relinquish a championship and then get it right back. Because he relinquished that shit in August, and he got it back in April. So, I mean, think about it. It took Roman 22 months to get back the Universal Championship, and then it took Finn Balor still never got to get the Universal Championship back. And then I'm sure if you go through the history of other people trying to get back championships they've had to relinquish, it either took them longer or they just never got them back. So Karrion Kross got it back in a very timely fashion. And then the co-main event, Kyle O'Reilly defeated Adam Cole in an unsanctioned match. And I'm pretty sure I was wrong here, because I think I went with Adam Cole just because, Chug's Army represent. Even though I kind of knew in my heart of hearts that this was going to be a good guy wins in the end sort of story. So ultimately, like, my brain knew it was going to be Kyle, but my heart convinced myself that it was going to be Adam Cole. Whatevs. Then on the WrestleMania SmackDown-a-Mania, whatever, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode defeated Rey and Dominic Mysterio, Otis and Chad Gable, and the Street Profits to retain the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. Though given what happened at the end of night one of WrestleMania, I think I would have very much liked it if the Street Profits got those titles back, but oh well, it's all good. And then Daniel Bryan and Edge cut their go-home promos before WrestleMania. Jey Uso won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman came out immediately afterwards, and Roman cut his go-home promo and even incorporated his slogans like show up and win. He said, "You know the phrase, you bought the t-shirt." And I said, "Oh, Tribal Chief, not only did I buy the shirt, but I got the hoodie for Christmas." And Wreck Everyone and Leave, of which I have in shirt and beanie form, he said, "Show up and win may sound like an arrogant statement, but show day is always the easy part, because when you prep every day for a 12, then the 10 comes easy," which is unintentionally appropriate for how my process is and should be, that I would like it to be, for making the show, and is generally speaking a lesson to us all. There were no shenanigans at the end. He just said his piece, and then on to WrestleMania we go. But first, Hardcore Justice, Impact Wrestling's little pay-per-view that happened the afternoon of WrestleMania Night 1. Start out with the team of Josh Alexander and Petey Williams, the Canadian Destroyer, defeating the teams of Ace Austin and Madman Fulton, and also the reunited TJP and Falaba. And it'll be Josh Alexander versus Ace Austin versus TJP for the X Division Championship at Rebellion. And then Mahabali Shera defeated Hernandez in a chairly legal match after Rohit Raju came out to make amends with his former Desi Hit Squad teammate by hitting Hernandez with a chair and having Shera get the pin. And then Doc Gallows defeated Black Taurus because the Good Brothers and Decay are feuding, because I think Decay would just pointed out that the locker room doesn't respect them anymore. I don't know. Matt Cardona defeated Johnny Swinger in a mystery crate match. And one of the crates had a framed photo of Scott Hall for whatever reason. Another crate had a rat trap that Swinger got his fingers caught in. Another crate had brass knuckles that Swinger was about to use until Cardona hit radio silence and got the 1, 2, 3. Cardona just took the final crate with him to the back, but remember this, it's important later. Sami Callihan laid out an open challenge and was answered by Sam Beal, who is one of Trey Miguel's students. Callihan beat Beal, so that'll teach you, Trey Miguel. Jake Something defeated Brian Myers in a hardcore blindfold match, as after Myers lifts his blindfold behind the ref's back and hits Jake with a super kick, Matt Cardona comes out and slides the crate to Jake, who hits Myers with it, and all these action figures came spilling out. Jake hit the black hole slam and got the win. Next was a Knockouts #1 Contenders weapons match, which got bonkers, and I say bonkers, as soon as Susan came out for her entrance. And then Sue Young's music hit, and Sue came out from the fog and attacked Susan and took her place. I thought they were all the same person. Rosemary and Havoc were all for this reunion of Undead Realm peoples. And so was I, because we all know how much of a sucker I am for the spooky shit in wrestling. This was just wild. And can I say, why has AEW and Impact not done Decay versus Butcher Blade and Bunny yet? I mean, this shit writes itself. Anyways, Caleb with a K got stapled. Sue and Alicia fought to the back. Nevaeh blew powder in Havoc's eyes. Then Jordan Grace hits her with the Vader bomb, then get pulled off by Caleb and gets Tenille Dashwood the pin, so she is the #1 contender for the Knockouts title at Rebellion. We go to Swingers Palace, where James Storm and Chris Sabin get drunk and attempt to play beer pong with Triple XL, then they end up fighting. The only reason why I'm mentioning this is Sabin made a glorious reference which is in reference to Robert Roode, Storm's former beer money partner. So there you go. That's all I got to say. Deonna Purrazzo defeated Jazz to retain her Knockouts championship and retire Jazz's career. Jordynne Grace came out to embrace Jazz and raise her arm and to be with her friend as her career closes. Tommy Dreamer's been attacked backstage and is not clear to compete in the Hardcore War match between his team and Violent by Design. And the rules for the Hardcore War is 2 men start alone for 5 minutes, which was Diener and Eddie Edwards. And every 2 minutes, a guy from a different team comes out, and when everybody enters, the first team to get the pinfall or submission wins. Rhino came out, then Willie Mack, then Joe Doring, then Rich Swann, then Eric Young, then the mystery entrant in Tommy Dreamer's place, who turned out to be Trey Miguel. It turned into all-out war for a while, until Eric Young hit Willie Mack with a pile driver and got the 1-2-3. And so far that's it. That's all the wrestling preceding WrestleMania. I mean, aside from NXT UK Prelude, which the only thing I caught from that was Walter beating Rampage Brown. But, all right. After these commercials, we'll be right back. Whew.
Great things are coming on the Nerd Bliss podcast. We're changing up our presentation while keeping the candidness that you enjoy. We'll cover all your favorite shows and movies, with maybe a few surprises along the way. And you, yes you, will have opportunities to be on our show on a regular basis. That's right, we've got the Zoom Pro account, and we're going to use it. So be ready. Find us at nerdblisspodcast.com and esonetwork.com, and on all the socials at NerdBlissPod. Nerd Bliss. Listen up.
My name is Mark McCray, and I'm the author of The Best Saturdays of Our Lives.
I'm Dan Klink, co-host of the Best Saturdays of Our Lives podcast.
The Best Saturdays of Our Lives features programming trends from the 1966 television season all the way through the last hurrah of the early digital age of the 1990s.
On the show, if it's animated, we talk about it.
Order your signed copy today at tbsool.com.
And listen to the podcast at esonetwork.com and all podcast platforms.
Hello. Have you ever wondered how much Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster sold Superman's rights to DC for? Or which popular football star was the Sam Wilson the Falcon's physical appearance based on? You can find all that and more at the History of Comic Books podcast, a podcast dedicated to the creators, events, history, and the companies that made the great comic book medium. Hosted and created by your friendly neighborhood JT Wheatley. Please give it a listen at iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, and all our podcasting platforms. Thank you, and go ahead and enjoy yourself a good comic book.
Look, we gotta talk.
Yeah, Thunder Talk.
We're going all kinds of sideways with that sweet nerd junk.
Woke nerd junk.
It's topical,
Political.
Dare I say radical.
We've got all your latest news and reviews.
Hot music.
And a whole lot of comedy.
but it ain't for kids.
Definitely mature content.
So let's talk.
Let's talk Thunder Talk.
Thunder Talk is a proud member of the ESO network.
And we're back. And here we are at the grandest stage of them all. The showcase of the Immortals, WrestleMania. Night one started out with BB Rexa, I believe that's how you pronounce it, performing America the Beautiful. Vince was out there with all the superstars welcoming back the WWE Universe, and you could just see how genuinely happy the superstars were to have the fans back. And then there was a 30-minute rain delay. And once that was over, we started out with the WWE Championship. And of course, Drew McIntyre was the first to come out and get the live reaction, as he very much deserved after being one of the most important people keeping things going during the pandemic era. But Bobby Lashley came out with the win. I guess putting him back with Corbin worked, because he got booed despite being such an awesome badass lately. Next was the women's tag team turmoil. Carmella and Billie Kay defeated Naomi and Lana. The Riot Squad defeated Carmella and Billie Kay. Then the Riot Squad defeated Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. And Natalya and Tamina defeated the Riot Squad and will face Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler the next day. Ruby and Liv had Joker and Harley Quinn gear on, which of course, you know I was all for. Even the friends that I was watching with that didn't know that who Liv was and that she was one of my favorites knew I was going for her once they saw the Harley gear, of course. Cesaro defeated Seth Rollins, so this was part of the positive side of the booking that was kind of all over the place. Seth debuted new theme music too, and it's pretty dope. Also, Cesaro broke his record of 22 swings on Seth with 23. AJ Styles and Omos defeated the New Day to become Raw Tag Team Champions. So AJ is now a Grand Slam champion, and Omos very much impressed. Credit to New Day, though. They really tried to not have Omos tag in. Braun Strowman defeated Shane McMahon. Moving on. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest defeated Miz and Morrison, and holy shit, Bad Bunny impressed. All the talk of him working hard at the Performance Center since the Rumble to prepare for this is 100% true, I would say. And all the props to him. And then later on in night 2, we got a commercial of Triple H presenting Bad Bunny with a briefcase that had his microphone in it. And then he hopped on his semi, and that was like supposed to be an advertisement for Bad Bunny's musical tour, which will resume in 2022. So, hey, good for him. He couldn't tour. He lived out his dream. Now he's going back on tour. In our historic main event, of which this is not only the second time women have main evented WrestleMania, but the first time 2 women of color have main evented WrestleMania over the championship, you could see the emotions starting to go over Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, and it translated into an incredible match, and Bianca hit Sasha with the KOD to become new SmackDown Women's Champion. Bianca was celebrating on the shoulders of her husband, Montez Ford, in the ring after cameras stopped rolling, and Sasha was sitting by the barricade trying to hide from cameras while she was all smiles at the history they just made. Flippin' amazing ending. On WrestleMania Night 2, Ashland Craft performed America the Beautiful, and this is especially significant in the Thunderverse because I used to work with Ashland at Academy Sports and Outdoors pre-Thunderverse. And yes, I actually said a job name out loud here, but I don't think Academy will mind being connected to her and mentioned on the premier wrestling podcast in the upstate, I think. And woo boy, if you don't think that would light a fire under me, think again, because first off, good for her and she definitely deserves it. She's way talented and worked hard on her abilities and capitalized on the right opportunities, while your boy was pissing away his time and opportunities on some stupid-ass bullshit. And that's why I'm chomping at the bit to getting back to capitalizing on 2018 and 2019. I don't mind seeing friends and people I've had some kind of association with doing really well and telling the people around me that, oh, I knew them and worked with them, but my ass better be at a point where at least one person can say that about me, and that's why I just keep getting more and more obsessed with this business, and other forms of entertainment and distraction just are falling away more and more for me. Because I just want to live in this world, this business of professional wrestling, more than any other. And Sexy Thor is just fundamentally broken that way, but I end up making it a fun journey along the way. Moving on. First match was The Fiend versus Randy Orton, and what the actual hell. A video showed The Fiend in like some sort of weird tunnel wearing a shawl and transforming from Burn Fiend back to regular Fiend, but still with Roman's vest, so I still don't know what that's about. And this is after Randy's come out in those special WrestleMania white trunks, I guess. Then Alexa came skipping down to the ramp to a positive reaction from fans, so that was nice to see. Then there was a huge Jack in the Box that she cranked all the way. Then The Fiend popped out. The old red lights came on, which I never minded, but I can see how that sucks for a lot of people. They were whooping each other's asses all over the place, and The Fiend got hit with 3 draping DDTs and no-sold all of them. The Fiend had Orton dead to rights with his sister Abigail, but then Alexa was at the top of the Jack in the Box with black ooze running down her face, and The Fiend was just staring at her until he turned around and got RKO'd for the 1, 2, 3. What? So, The Fiend can no-sell like 7 curb stomps, but 1 RKO, and he's done. Again. What? I love all three of these superstars, but WrestleMania was not the place to do this. At this point, you should have had everything with Alexa versus Randy happen before Fastlane, and then, I guess, do this shit at Fastlane. Fiend versus Orton. Orton beats Fiend after Alexa, turns on him, I guess that is. And then have a conclusive match at WrestleMania. I'm sure the Fiend and Randy are going to go at it again at Backlash next month, and the Fiend will get his win back. But it's going to be in the Thunderdome, so whatever. Still love the Fiend, still love Alexa, still love Randy, but this wasn't it. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax defeated Natalya and Tamina to retain the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship, but the crowd was cheering hard for Tamina. Even Tommy Dreamer took notice and tweeted about how she could be WWE's new top babyface because she got such a great reaction. Kevin Owens defeated Sami Zayn while Logan Paul just sat there by the commentary table and then went up to shake KO's hand, much to Sami's dismay, but KO stunned Logan Paul too, as well as he should. Sheamus defeated Riddle to become new United States champion, which surprised me at first because I've been hearing how Vince loves Riddle and he just got the title at Elimination Chamber, but love him or hate him, you can't deny that Riddle's got that little bit of extra star power that puts you in line for world titles and main events. Fast-tracking him through a workers' title run does kind of make sense. I mean, that's kind of what they were there for, to get you ready for the world titles. We went back-to-back with the secondary championships, as next was the Intercontinental Championship with Big E coming out as Wale performed his theme live, and Apollo came out in all his royal prestige, which is based on a real lineage he has and character he came up with all his own, so a lot of us don't have room to criticize or make snarky jokes about it. These two killed it, even though there was more standard street fight stuff being used than Nigerian drum fight stuff, and E had Apollo dead to rights until a giant came to Apollo's aid decked out in a Nigerian military uniform, and just flub and wrecked E and placed Apollo on E for the 1-2-3, and Apollo Crews is your new Intercontinental Champion. By the way, that giant, former Raw Underground standout Dabba-Kato. Welcome back, sir. Next up was the Raw Women's Championship, and Rhea got the same treatment as Big E, as she had Ash Costello of New Year's Day out there performing her theme as Rhea went to the ring. Now, I love New Year's Day, I love Rhea, and I love this theme, so this is just fucking dreams becoming reality here. Thanks, 2021. Rhea and Asuka had a short but sweet match. Rhea hit Asuka with the Riptide and is now Raw Women's Champion. Let us never forget that Rhea was the second to last woman remaining in the Rumble, besides Bianca Belair, and also faced Shayna Baszler on Raw this past week for I think maybe the first time since Rhea beat her for the NXT Women's Championship, so if you're a Rhea fan, you're absolutely loving this. Only thing missing was her fighting Toni Storm one time again, recently. But that does officially make Rhea the first one with the NXT UK Women's Championship, the NXT Women's Championship, and the Raw Women's Championship. And this was only her second WrestleMania, and she debuted on the roster 3 weeks ago. All hail the Nightmare. At least till Becky gets back. Which I was always on high alert for every time I saw Bayley this weekend. But no, Bayley just ended up getting shoved to the ground by the Bellas. Okay, whatever. And now the main event. The main event of main events. And this is coming from someone who has the shirt of the WrestleMania 35 main event. Daniel Bryan, leader of the Yes Movement, who for 2 years was told he had to retire and couldn't wrestle again. Edge, who 10 years ago to the day of this main event on Sunday night was forced to retire. He spent 9 years to come back. Ended up in the weirdest WrestleMania ever and one of the weirdest and most difficult times in modern history, to having a stellar match billed as the greatest wrestling match ever, only to tear his tricep towards the end of the match and be out the rest of the year, only to barely make it back in time to enter this year's Royal Rumble at number 1, outlast 29 other men, including his best friend who returned after 7 years after being told he couldn't do this anymore, and became one of the few to win a Royal Rumble twice. He picked Roman and has been preparing for this moment while Daniel Bryan stuck his nose in, which made Edge only more dangerous. And then we have the Tribal Chief, the head of the table, the end-all, be-all, the best of the best, the reigning, defending, undisputed, uncontroverted, Universal Champion, a title he felt he was meant for since its inception in 2016, who won the Elimination Chamber in 2018 to go to war with Brock Lesnar multiple times over a span of 4 months, and finally reaching that mountaintop at SummerSlam. And only 2 months into being on the mountaintop, he had to give it up because his leukemia returned after 11 years, and even though he wanted to wrestle through it, his spleen would have been at serious risk and would have done even more harm. So he went away, kicked leukemia's ass, and came back at Rawlanta. He brought the Shield back together one more time before Dean Ambrose went to greener pastures, and faced Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania 35. He spent the rest of the year fighting Shane McMahon with the help of The Undertaker, and then had a way too long feud with King Corbin, then went right for newly crowned, at the time, Universal Champion Goldberg. The world went to shit, and Roman tried to stay and do that WrestleMania, and ooh boy did I love seeing the graphic of Roman versus Goldberg for the Universal Championship. But then a week or so before, Roman dropped out of the match because he had newborns at home and it was just too risky. He had to stay away until WWE got its shit straight with testing and protocols and moving to the Thunderdome, then made his surprise return at SummerSlam that year, wrecking everyone and leaving. And like he said on SmackDown in the promo, show up and win also means that when Roman Reigns shows up, WWE is winning. A week later, he defeated Braun Strowman and The Fiend at Payback and finally reclaimed the Universal Championship 22 months after he had to give it up. And since then, he's been on a tear that no one could have ever imagined. These three men, who could have just as easily ended up not wrestling in 2021, are here in the main event, hitting each other with chairs, Edge and Daniel Bryan almost making Roman tap out because it took both to try to make him submit, and he did not. Roman and Edge both hit their legendary spears on each other at the same time. The crowd still booed Roman, which only made him get angrier, more intense, and more dangerous. All three men put their bodies on the line and went to any length to walk out Universal Champion. Edge even whacked Daniel with a concerto and was about to do the same for Roman when Jey Uso hit Edge with a super kick and was going at him until Edge hit him with a spear and some chair shots of his own. Roman speared Edge and hit him with a concerto, placed him on top of Daniel Bryan, and pinned them both, so there's no doubt in anyone's mind who rules SmackDown. Aside from the marks who want to say, technically Edge won. Or really, is that really the truth? Because I saw Edge get pinned too. Nope. This is the age of the Tribal Chief, and you will acknowledge him. And that's the 1, 2, 3. Thanks for locking up with me in the Ring of Thunder. I am fucking exhausted. It's like I'm exhausted and burnt, but I'm ready to go to Raw after Mania and go after this fortunately regular week of wrestling. But anytime, now I just know anytime they want to shove extra wrestling in my face, I'm ready for it. Oh yeah, and of course we had the Hall of Fame, which I watched, and that was pretty nice too. But yeah, what a week. I'm going to slap this together, put it out there in the Thunderverse. I hope you enjoy listening to this as much as I enjoyed making it. Because even though this was a lot, it was fucking awesome, and I want to do more of this. Kick butts, not nuts.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.